from my own, what's the word I want to say? Anyway, like from my own calling and lens, right? Like from my own megaphone that I've been given, which is just one megaphone, right? It's not the megaphone. It's just my megaphone that I feel really called to share my piece of the puzzle in this conversation of holism. You know, what I believe and plant my flag in, like my whole body of work and belief system is around living our call. And that when we live, that's utopia for me. Yeah. Is that if we actually just all lived our call,
yes,
and saw that each person lived their call, and the fear goes away because there's nothing to achieve anymore. And I know that that's just what I bring to the table, right? Like that's just my piece in terms of wisdom, you know, in a wisdom circle, that will always be the piece that I bring.
It's interesting because with the work that I'm doing now as a digital business manager for Innovation Island, we've been on several webinars with organizations. Like yesterday, it was tourism, and the day before that, it was a Chamber of Commerce. All these organizations, they're talking about how are we, like just the issues of how are we going to manage this new normal, and all the businesses that are in dire straits right now, and how are we, and so that, like, Graham has been on these calls to promote the program that we're operating, yeah, it's been really interesting to hear people say things like, it's been very positive, that, you know, we have to bring the, you know, here, the entrepreneur in us has to come out now, and right. Or the entrepreneur in them has to come out now, and we have to learn to get really creative, and you know, and I've heard more than once now through these conversations terms like what is our purpose, and being creative, and you know, what's the greatest purpose, you know, what how can we pivot and bring a sustainability, like how can we change, and you know, it's just been really positive, and I haven't heard that before in the business world, those wow. terms, right? And so there's a shift.
Wow.
It's very interesting that, and the, yeah, it's just the, like the one they had tourism, and then they had us in the tech world, and you know, they were giving examples of how they can be creative in their businesses and to be online, and yeah, it was just really, really inspiring. And I just thought, you know what, people are waking up. It's really sad that it's had to take this, but you know, it could have been worse, you know. So this was a gentle, Mother Nature gave us a very gentle nudge, right? You know, so yes. And so, you know, just I want to say that you said Mother Nature's dominant, and I will have to disagree with that word, that dominant. I don't believe that is it. Mother Nature is just is, and it's not dominance. It's just it's the way, it's an unfolding. Dominance is whereas this is just an unfolding. It's an unfolding and unfolding and unfolding as you become more aware. Yeah, to me, like I can't really express still what I mean by that, but
I think I get it. Like, and I think what I'm hearing you say is, even the word dominance goes back to the thing I said with Christina, right? Like as in over, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But what Mother Nature is, when I could use a different word, when I use the word dominance, I mean, what I meant by it, it's like when I think about core story, I track a story until it stops. Like it can't go any deeper because we've hit the core. And that's what I mean by when I think of Mother Nature. Mother Nature is the very, it's the very bottom and the very top, right? Like it all stops. It all
Yeah.
stops with grandmother spider, which makes the system of nature becomes the dominant, as in the only truth. That's what I
Yes.
mean. The only
Yeah.
truth is that, but I hear you, it's not this, it's not over, it's not oppressive, it's actually this.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it stops, but it also starts with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
getting back to uh, the little conversation we had yesterday on Voxer, the grandmother spider, now I'm losing my train of thought, damn it.
It's okay. You're an artist. You got to go with the flow. You're not supposed to have that thought. It'll come back. It'll come back. It'll come back.
Oh, good gracious. It was a good one too. Oh, well.
That's happening to me. You know what I wonder? Sometimes I think, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. And then I think, no, you're just surrounded by so many brilliant fucking people that you can't keep up. Like you just can't keep up. Like you need to sit down with it. You need to have a pad of paper everywhere you go right
And
now.
time the thought, stop what you're doing and write it down. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God. I know we're on your time. So let me know if we're gobbling up your time. I have lots of time. So
Oh,
I'm
this conversation is just fine, Tina.
okay.
Oh, part
Okay.
of it.
Okay.
I believe so.
I want to share that what I wrote down with Todd this morning because it was he said a couple of things that were like so funny and so spot on that I had a book beside me. I wrote them down. And so
Todd Carter?
yeah, Todd Carter. That's the guy I was talking to. Super nice guy. He said I love this one. And it just came out as a joke. It was basically, it was what I called the Christmas dinner topic, or why am I the most interesting thing in the room? Like, you know, I don't know if you ever feel like this, but at Christmas dinner, because we're the artists, we're the conversation everybody wants to have about. Like, they want to talk about us because we're the most interesting thing in the room, but they're also the thing that people want to judge or want to figure out, or like, I was like, oh my God, that is so true. Like why am I always the subject of conversation over Thanksgiving dinner? Do you have that too as an entrepreneur? Like the one who's off the track that everybody else is on? Do you experience that too?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're a little bit more unassuming maybe as well, but I like you don't suck in the energy of the room as much as maybe I do. I love that one. Here's another thing that he said. We're too smart for our own happiness.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then I love this other one he said, and it's actually a writing prompt that I'm going to use to help writers understand what mood and tone is like when you're writing. And all he said was, do you remember what it's like? And he was talking about, do you remember what it's like as a child? He was talking about a moment as a child. And I just thought that's such a great writing prompt because right immediately, do you remember what it's like? Has a layer of sentimentality to it and romance and time and place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those, yeah. So now I have my book to write down all your brilliance.
Funny. Yes, I could use a man to communicate with. One day, maybe. Anyways.
You don't have a zillion men to talk with. It's just they don't deserve you. You are so amazing and sexy and smart, and I bet you have a bazillion men beating down the door, but they won't all necessarily be good men.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
Okay. Where do you want to go today, sugar?
Well, I do. You in this podcast and telling me I need to finish my book really cracked the whip and lit my fire on butt. My fire on butt.
Fire on butt.
Yeah. So
how about this, Sharon? How about so on one level, as the receiver of grandmother spider wisdom, as a receiver, because I know that you believe that you're not the only one. As a receiver of grandmother spider wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my brain's just picking up on a few things, but I just noticed that I said grandmother spider women. I was like, oh, does that mean something? It might. That I think one of the areas that I would love for you to develop a practice with is this connection to grandmother spider. And I don't know.
Say that because I was thinking this morning that I'm going to start meditating with her.
Okay, good, great.
Every morning to start my day.
Great. Oh, that's so.
And I'm also going to take your suggestion, and I'm going to contact Chris, because you had suggested that I ask Chris how can I work with grandmother spider, and so I'm going to connect with him and see if I can if he can help me with that.
Great. So so you have to remember, for me, I hear on multiple levels, right? So on the deeply soulful place, which is why I always defer to Chris, because it's not my wheelhouse, but I can hear it. That is your source point. Like that's your, when we said nature, right? Like the dominance from this place, right? Like that's this, or from here, however you hear it, that's where your plug always plugs in. So you've got an extension cord from your heart or whatever power source you speaks the most to you, that comes out of you and plugs into her. And that it's not that it needs to be nurtured, Sharon. It's just that you've been called to it.
Yeah. And if I want to, what was the word that I had this morning? Yeah, I'm going to have to start writing this stuff down as I think of it, because I spent some time with this morning. Mm-hmm. It'll come to me, I'm sure, as we're talking.
Mm-hmm. So on one level, moving forward, nurture that. And I know, because I know that's awake in you, that is your source, your power source, that my job will be to keep plugging you back into that. But the work there is going to be between you and Chris, and I can nurture it, of course. And so the guidance is to develop whatever practice you need. It might be journaling. It might be a whole bunch of things. It might be walking, meditation, prayer, writing, drawing, all of it. And just start to pay attention to where you feel the most energetic, like energized or full of battery charge. When you're like, where are you the most plugged into grandmother spider, and start to notice where you get the most juice and start a practice there. And from my own experience, know that sometimes that battery pack changes over time. Like it might be like gardening, like it might be seasonal. Like in the winter, for me, lighting a fire, the whole thing like worked. It's not working for me in the spring.
Yeah.
I'm needing to do something else to connect to my own
Yeah.
story source,
Yeah.
and to follow it. So that's number one. The other part that I hear is more that on the surface level, it's the part of me that sees, it's similar to Shar, that sees your potential in the world, like how you impact the world. And when I see you with Grandmother Spider, I'm like, this is the woman. If she says yes to Grandmother Spider, this is the woman who's going to be ministering to people Grandmother Spider's wisdom. You are going to be known as the Grandmother Spider Lady if you want to.
Yeah.
From a marketing perspective that is totally in alignment, not just marketing because it's clever and cool, but it's actually in alignment,
Yeah.
is always showing up with Grandmother Spider behind you.
Yeah.
Yes. Having a spider on your book. Yes. Making sure your blog has a spider in. Yes. And it's not an accident this Grandmother Spider gather for her thing happened.
No, it's not. It's not an accident that we developed, that she came to us. It's not an accident. I know that because I just know it. I just feel it deep within my core that it was not an accident at all. That was intentional. And, you know, just the, how many incidences of the spider being in my awareness and in the house with me, you know, like in my bed, you know, sleeping with Grandmother Spider.
Oh my gosh. I know.
In my tub this morning, you know.
On your tub?
Yeah, I went to go wash my hair, and there's two little spiders in the tub. It's like, wasn't the big
Wow.
one, but
So what I think would be really beneficial to help unleash Grandmother Spider and to help you feel safe and anchored is just to check in on those 4 basic principles that we came up with, or that Grandmother Spider told you a long time ago, and just see if they're still true, right? Like the developing a drag line and the web. And what were the other 2? Were there 4 or 3? Dragline, web, resilience, innate. It was resilience,
innate wisdom.
innate wisdom, dragline, and the web. And wisdom and resilience might have been in the same category, but there was no, they're different. The innate wisdom was connected to being a virtual assistant and anticipating people's needs, right? And resilience was about when the wind blows or a person, wipes away some of those spiders' web, they just come back. They don't get all caught up and what's wrong with you humans knocking down my web? They just fucking build a web.
Yeah, and the other part of that too, though, is on the VA side, it's the same thing. It's like if we had more VAs during this pandemic, they would be surviving, right? Because right now a lot of businesses have shut down because they only have that one source of income, and if they would have had the VA skills, they could have
or if their workforce was filled with VAs,
they could survive. Yeah. So it always ties back to the web, right? And it's just a circle.
So what I know to be true is that when we stumble onto a core story, so the core source is Grandmother Spider, the core message, the core practice are these 4 principles, and then the core products. The core principles can be applied to any of the products. That's why we know they're core principles.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're graphic facilitating, it's the same 4 principles. You're listening for resilience. You're listening for the drag line. You're listening for the innate wisdom and the web, like the network. When you're teaching VAs, it's the same 4 principles. When you're facilitating a room, it's the same 4 principles. So that's why I want to check in with those principles and just see, are they still true? Like, how, let's just.
Developing a drag line.
Yeah.
Well, developing a drag line. Yeah, absolutely. Like the drag line is your means. That's it's how you get somewhere. It's how it's how you get somewhere, but also it is it's your connection to the web.
Right.
And it's also the umbilical cord. So it's to the heart of it's your connection to the heart of creation. The umbilical cord connects, us to the womb. And that's, so if we look at it internally, that's what's going on internally, and then externally, it's the web, it's the drag line that connects to the web, to grandmother spider, which is the womb of creation.
Just taking notes. So we have 4 principles we're exploring, and I think they're still true. So drag line, just love this. It's the umbilical cord. It's the connection to the web. It's the connection to the womb. Connection to the heart.
And then innate wisdom, grandmother spider is the creator. So, she's the creatrix. And so, she's Mother Nature, who is the creator. I mean, like.
So when we are tapping into our own innate wisdom, can you tell me more about that? Like, I'm trying to understand, are we actually tapping, like, is she whispering to us? Like, is she, or are we, do you think we just come into the world with it imprinted in us because she wove us into existence? Do you think
it's in our DNA, but she's always whispering to us to wake us up, because that's the thing, is that when we came to this lifetime, we have been brainwashed and conditioned to, for whatever reason, to forget where we came from. And so our job in this lifetime is to remember who we are and where we came from, and to live in the beauty that and create. I mean, we're creators. We are an extension of. We're like a hologram of the, so we are grandmother spider. We are all
important. That's a really important and interesting distinction, right? Because anytime we are offering to the world something to believe in, it's important to name how we're meant to believe in it. Like, and you're not saying grandmother spider is God, but you are.
Yes, I am.
You're offering a version of it, right? And so this piece is really important, that we are a hologram, and that we are grandmother spider.
Yeah. We are nature. Grandmother spider is nature. And
So is grandmother spider like another version of Gaia?
yeah, because Gaia is nature. Gaia is Mother Earth. Just like we are as well, like we are. And that's why it's so odd that people think that they're so separate from each other when we are so connected. It's just, yeah. So does that answer the wisdom principle?
Yeah, but we're just a little bit, Han. I just want to make sure so do you, from your offering, is grandmother spider matrilineal, like back to the feminine?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things for your book.
Sorry, the reason I say that is because
Yeah.
she's a creator. She's a creatrix.
Ah,
And
right.
as a creator, women are the creators of we give birth. Men
Oh
don't
my
have that
gosh.
ability.
Boy, when you say it like that, it makes me think, how did God ever become a man?
I know it's because the men rule the world, so they had to make him a man. But when you listen to, it's really interesting when you listen to Glennon Doyle's book Untamed, or when you read it.
Yeah.
He calls God her all the time, and I love it. And it's because she does not believe that, so she doesn't believe in this or that, like male or female. It just is, and that's why she's married to a woman, because she doesn't. Those labels are all gone, right? It doesn't matter. It's just.
That's so interesting.
But yes, absolutely. So I want to be on that same bandwagon as her, where God is female, Earth is female, Mother Earth, Mother Earth. It's not. We don't call it Father Earth.
Yeah. Because it's creation itself.
Exactly.
Okay, so one of the things I would encourage you to do, and this doesn't necessarily have to be in your book, but it's going to be part of how Mary Beth and I talk about bulletproofing our authors. So it's like no matter what comes at you, you've actually done some research there, and you can go back and draw on it. So there's very few blind spots that you can get caught into, and it also just builds your confidence. I encourage you to spend a good 3 weeks or so, or when you have time, like a good chunk of your research into matrilineal cultures. So it's not. I actually don't know. Like I'm making this up. I'm making this up. I suspect that I'm just gonna be really bold. All origin stories are matrilineal.
Yeah, I suspect so too. It's interesting because my research, the first time you and I talked about matrilineal, my research was that 80% of Indigenous cultures were matrilineal. And then Jessica Hill confirmed that. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yes. And so I don't know if she confirmed the 80%, but she did say that most were matrilineal. And so, of course.
How? And so like what a scientist does is they actually when they go to prove something, they look for the proof of what it's not. So to prove are all origin stories matrilineal, they're hunting for the story that isn't matrilineal. That's an origin story, not just, which I think is really interesting. That's what I love about science and journalism too, is like journalism writes to the hole in the story. They don't, right? So that's what I encourage you to do. And that's just for bulletproofing. It may have nothing to do with grandmother spider, but it'll give you a sense of peace. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. I can do that.
Okay. And so the question I'm asking you to prove or to inquire about is, are all origin stories matrilineal?
Yeah.
And then what you discover on the path of that. Okay, so innate wisdom, comes from remembering, remembering ourselves as creators, remembering ourselves as Mother Nature, remembering ourselves as the descendant of and yet with at all times grandmother spider. Okay, and then it's always there. Just to go back to drag line. Actually, sorry, I'm going to go back. I want to do this for each of them. So in innate wisdom, can you give me a of this time example of an application of innate wisdom that is of this time? So like dragline might be a bit easier to do. Yeah, like so like dragline might be easier to
COVID, you mean?
of just of this human experience. So if you were going to talk to me about innate wisdom, how might I use it, or how is grandmother spider always there for me in my regular day?
Your intuition, for example.
Okay. Awesome.
That gut feeling that you shouldn't go into that house, or that gut feeling that you shouldn't get on that plane. So that's the, but there's other examples of innate wisdom. It is a deep knowing that you don't know where it came from, but you have it, and that's a little bit more harder to explain. But let me see if I can find an example. A deep knowing.
Is it something to do with like there are really basic things like when a baby cries, as long as we are most of us are healthy enough to know to pick it up? Is it like that?
Yeah.
Or is that more part of the brain? Or is it something else? Is it like
innate, the deep knowing.
Yeah, I think it's more, I think I'm off track. I don't think it's actually the knowing to hold a baby when they're crying. I think it's like, no, it may be really basic. It's like if you're a chef, you've kind of always known how to, I don't know, cook, right? Is it about our gifts?
It's about our gifts. It's about what we feel called in our purpose in this lifetime. It's the spark and the diamond that we talked about on Wednesday, right? It's that there's something there that that has been given to us, and it's unique to us.
Got it.
It's like that holographic piece. Each of us were shattered into, and so you are one part of the puzzle. I'm another part of the puzzle. Mary Beth is another part of the puzzle. Charlene's another part. And we put all those pieces together, we would have the whole earth.
Oh my gosh, can you just go back to that? So we go back to this shattered. This is like, tell me what? So we are what?
Explain. We are a hologram. So I'm sorry, but that's, and I learned this from Deepak Chopra years and years and years ago. We are a hologram. We have the whole of us in one shard of glass, the whole of the hologram, the whole of the image, the whole of whatever it is in that one shard of glass. That's each and every one of us. We are one piece of the puzzle. We each have, and so within us is the DNA, the innate wisdom is the DNA. It is the code. It is the force, the life force. It is the spark. It is that is unique to you, but only because you're in this only because it's unique to you because you're in this body having this life experience. Now, when you go away, then I don't know what happens, but I believe we probably become a part of the earth. And then however, if you want to come back and have another earth experience, or if we're supposed to come back, or I don't know how that works, but
Right. So I'm hearing, so what I loved about this, which made it was just a really clear understanding, especially in relationship to grandmother spider, is we all have our own web, right? We all have our own web that we live on. And it was about this shattered, like all of it, like I just saw, so I saw, what I saw was a whole image that shatters, not shatters bad, but and of which each of us are a piece of that whole. And yet within that piece is the DNA of the whole.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so, you know, like you could even think like the Big Bang
Right.
as so when that bang took place, we are all stars, you know, we are all a piece of that, which is, and this, you know, and we create our own existence, we create our own reality, not our own existence, yeah, our reality. So,
But we're a part of a bigger reality of grandmother spider. Okay, I get it. Awesome. So in real life, in real life terms of innate wisdom, these are our gifts. It's our intuition. It's our innate knowing that we didn't have to work for. You know, Tina language, we got it for free. It's those moments when we just know what to do, even though we don't know that we were ever taught it.
yeah.
It's probably it's our values that were may have been
Talents.
our talents. Okay, it's the places we make decisions from, or we can make decisions from. Okay.
It's our heart.
Our heart, yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's go back to dragline. So can you give, you described dragline as our umbilical cord, our connection to the web, our connection to the womb, connection to the heart. In real life terms, if I was to apply that, so like if you were listening to Gather for Her conversation, and you were listening for the dragline that grandmother spider is wanting to highlight for us, how like if you think about the last conversation we had, or Jessica Hills, any of them, like what was the drag line in any of those conversations, do you think, that she was trying to say, hey guys, this is your drag line?
Yeah. Well, the pause. This pause is our, the drag line.
Wow.
It's like, okay, time to take a break.
Because the pause is going to connect us, remind us of our connection to the womb, our connection to the heart.
It already is. I mean, look at how many people are awakening spiritually. You know,
Right.
It's crazy. It's not crazy. It's incredible, and it's been powerful. And yes, you're always going to have casualties, but many people are up leveling, and like the earth is actually. I believe it's part of, like, we're in Aquarius, and I believe it's part of the new, like the earth shifts every 26,000 years or something like that, and so I believe this is one of those shifts.
Mm-hmm.
We're shifting, but we're also as a conscious, we're consciously, like, we are awakening, and which is going to shift as well, right? It's going to cause a shift.
I want to say the other thing about the drag line in real life terms, if we just think about what a drag line is, a spider on a web, it's the thing that keeps us safe and allows us to leave the web.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the transportation. It's our tool to
tool. So like I'm hearing that the macro drag line of Gather for Her, right, that we're talking about, that is the pause.
Yeah.
And then each individual conversation is going to offer a micro drag line about here's how you can leave the web
Yeah.
based on the person who's talking. So like if you had to think about Jessica Hill's conversation, what do you think was the drag line?
Or not even leave the web, but get to the web.
Yeah, get to the web, or but like when we are, but when you actually, I wouldn't say get to, honey, because a drag line, where does it stem from? It stems from the web, right?
Yeah.
So it might be, you might be able to go from web to web, but spiders don't usually go from web to web, right? They go from web to a leaf over here, and then and back, for sure they'll climb back up, but it actually, so it's like, what is the line that allows us to leave and come back, right? Or what is a line that always keeps us connected? So I'm thinking, what in Jessica Hill's conversation, or in, like, I can think of what I think the drag line was, but I'm not grandmother spider. But based on the logic that you're saying here, like in the last conversation, I would say that the drag line was probably the braid, like the conversation of go and establish your braid. Make sure you've got those people who've got your back, because those.
That wasn't Jessica Hill's conversation. That was
No.
Miriam's. No, that was the conversation that you guys just had.
Yeah.
On the 22nd.
And so when you think about Jessica Hill's, what do you think her drag line was? And I'm only doing this because I want to prepare you for the next Gather for Her, to start listening. What is the innate wisdom she's reminding us of? What's the drag line? What's the resilience? And then what's the web? Like, what do you think the drag? I think it's no, that's not it.
I'll be right back. I'm going to get the drawing so I can.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. What's so important there, what you just said, once the language is gone, then it's gone. Grandmother spider needs to make sure that every drawing has language in it. It has to have language in it. It's part of how you are moving her work. Not work, sorry. It's how you are sharing the wisdom of grandmother spider in today's time and preserving it. It's like seed keeping. The people who are the seed keepers? Yeah.
So then it has to be said, because I just record what is being said. I don't put my own words into it, right? So then.
But you can.
You can bring that in there because. So
I don't want to put you on the spot though. Like what I would, meaning I don't want to say, hey Sharon, what's the word for this?
No, I actually can say it when in my because I'm supposed to be bringing in the grandmother spider wisdom into the conversation. So yes, you're right, I can. So and that's the other thing. Like I think the word I was thinking of earlier was embody, and so if I am going to be bringing grandmother spider wisdom into this, I have to embody her more. And and so I'm not just there I'm not just there taking the recording and then just as an Indigenous woman bringing in what I think is Indigenous aspect of it. I'm actually bringing in these 4 principles. Yeah.
I want to say whatever the Indigenous version of amen is. What's the Indigenous? What is it?
I don't know. I have to look that up. Amen.
Amen, sister. It's like, tell me what that is, because I want to start using it.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Okay.
But for Indigenous, like we're using chi miigwech, and that is big thank you, and that is it's not from even where Shar, like it's Cree. It's more it's Cree, it's Algonquin, it's that part of the world. It's not here on the coast. It's not Coast Salish, right?
Ah, okay.
So if we're going to be doing Coast Salish, then it would be Gilakazla.
Gilakazla.
Yeah.
Wow. I think, and can you tell me a little bit more? Is it like when
Sorry,
we
Dr. Shannon will, when she gets on, she'll talk more about that because that's where she works. And I think this is where she's from too, is this part of the
yeah.
world.
I'm just curious in terms of indigenous containers, like, right? Like, so it's almost like, you know, well, you get what I'm saying. So if this was an indigenous gathering, do we follow the custom of the land in which we're on? Which means that's how we say, we don't say, we would say big thank you in.
I believe so. I'm not 100% certain, but I believe so.
Mhm.
But also as an Indigenous person, if you're from a different a nation or whatever, you would include yours for sure.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I would say Gidikasla if I'm giving a presentation, because that's what I have been doing for all the facilitation work that I did for Mama Lilakla. Gilakazla. But then I haven't been incorporating mine, but for other workshops that I've done that were not from Mama Lilakla, I haven't been, Tansi and Kananaskomtin, which means thank you in Cree.
So it's possible that just as Shar does the land acknowledgement in the beginning to set the tone, not to set the tone, but just to do it, you might in your blessing or in your close of gather for her offer the different ways across Canada that we say thank you.
Yeah, that's a big task.
Oh, is it? Is it? Would there be more than 3? I mean, of course, there would probably be like 12, but if you had to just do it in zones,
Yeah.
like Eastern Canada, Mid Canada, Western Canada, you might have 3.
Yeah, I can look that up. I can do that. Yeah.
Do you know how wicked that would be? And do you know how much we would learn to simply just say thank you in 3 other Indigenous languages of our country? Oh,
yeah. When I did, so I did a facilitation, when I was taking my facilitation training, one of my lessons was teaching how to speak the basic Cree. And then at the end, I gave different, yeah, it was fun. So I do have some of those actually. So I'll look that up.
And even in the way Shar leaves it open where she says, she says, I want to acknowledge the land in which I reside, and I want to take a moment, us all to take a moment to acknowledge how we acknowledge the land in which we reside. It could be as simple as that. I want to say thank you in my language, and in this moment, offer to all of us here to say thank you in our language. It could be as simple as that, so that it's inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful, Sharon. Okay. Resilience.
Resilience, ability to keep showing up, draws from innate wisdom.
I think we've got resilience. It's the ability to keep showing up, keep building the web, right? Yeah. Keep building the web. Remembering you're always connected. Yeah. To the web, even when the wind blows it away. It's interesting that spider resilience, if I had to put it from a Christian lens, spider resilience is very much what the Bible's about. Like the Bible are all the stories. They're all the stories that remind you that you're connected to God. Yeah. That's kind of interesting, hey?
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of drag line. The 10 Commandments might be a drag line, but there sure is a hell of a lot of resilience. There's a lot of, hey, here's how you're always connected to God. Hey, here's how hey, look, you're still connected to God. Hey. That's so interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So spider resilience. And then the last one is
The web.
the web. Right. The web. Weaving a web of wise.
But it's true, you are. It's wise. It's the whole, it's the whole, like, there is something there. I know there is, besides laughter.
It's so you though. I actually think, you know, on stage, that's one of your jokes. And you say, come on, we're all going to do some spider wisdom together. Repeat after me. Weaving a web of wise. And just make everybody say it. They'll be howling. And then you go, grandmother spider has a sense of humor.
I mean, she has to. I mean, look at us.
That is a great line. It's a great icebreaker.
Yeah. So the web. So for looking at it from grandmother's, from a spider's perspective, the web is what it's a tool used to feed the spider, right? It's the source.
Oh.
It's the source of
Oh. Why have I never heard that before? It is a tool to feed the spider.
well, yeah, that's how they catch their food, right? So it's the tool used to feed the spider, but it's also well, it's not also it's the tool used to feed the spider.
It's also where they live though, right?
I don't know where they live. They live on the web. I don't know.
I don't, might have to do a little spider research. The
Yeah.
life of a spider.
Where does a spider live?
I do think it's also the tool of where they live and they wait, right? Just depends on what mode they're in, if they're in hunting mode or.
Yeah, where does a spider live? I'm going to look that up. Research.
That is so wicked because it makes, you know what just popped into my head is it made me think of the earth. Like everything we need to sustain ourselves are on our web.
Yeah.
But it's also where we live. And it's also where we connect to grandmother spider.
Yeah.
It's actually everything happens in the web. Our connection, our sustenance, and our home.
If the spider lives on the web.
Right.
I've got to figure that out. So I'll look that up right away.
Yeah.
So then it connects back because I mean, so that's like the hologram again.
Right. It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating to me that innate wisdom, resilience, and the web are interconnected and lean on each other. And the only one that is separate but connected, but it's the drag line. And it makes sense because the drag line is how we can safely leave home. Whereas innate wisdom, resilience, and the web are the braid of our home.
Yeah. I was just going to say braid. It is the braid.
Wow.
Yeah. So the braid is up again. So the braid, as in the conversation on the 22nd, is you three, the three sisters, innate wisdom, resilience, and the web. Wow. And the drag line is the umbilical cord that connects everything. So there, you know, the more we talk about this, the more I'm just getting like goosebumps and my yeah. There is something very, very big here. Very big here. Very big here. It's.
So moving forward, my suggestion is that the most important thing for you to be doing right now is to be rooting, like rooting in your work, like really knowing what your allegiance. I've probably used this before, but I love this example. So if I've done it before, whatever. Anyway, if my allegiance is to live like this, open hearted, I can't always live like this. Sometimes I have to live like this for my allegiance to be like, if this is how I want to live, with an open heart. Sometimes I have to do this to protect my heart, or to say, no, you don't get in. And other times I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so what, as a vessel of Grandmother Spider's wisdom, which is what you are, she's talking to you. She's just as Story is my muse, right? Yeah. Grandmother Spider's like your muse and your plug-in. So for you to live like this in connection to Grandmother Spider, your job right now is to root in and really shake hands with her. Really get to know, like dive into these 4 principles of her work, message, being, grounding, if you will. And it's the bulletproofing, like run everything through these lenses, everything right now, so that you can go, yep, that's not my work. Yep, no, that's not my work, but this is my work. So there's some, like in terms of the book and stuff, there's doing some research about spiders and all of that. But even that isn't as important right now as just really getting to know these core principles of Grandmother Spider, like you live them and breathe them. And when you don't know, you ask her. I actually don't know the answer to that, but I will write to her tomorrow, or I will walk with her tomorrow, and I'll talk to her tomorrow and let you know what I come up with.
Yeah.
It's the co-creation place that Shar speaks of. You are in co-creation with Grandmother Spider right now. Because what I want for you is your confidence to be, I want you to be unshakable. And we all shake, but your devotion and surrender to her wisdom is strong, and that you can rest in it. I'd love to see you rest in her wisdom, so that when the camera's on and you're speaking for her, that you actually are very calm doing it. Okay?
Have I looked nervous in the past?
Not at all. I just know that what I want for you is to trust that you've been chosen. You know? And then just do.
I do and I don't right now. I trust that I have been, but I also allow that bad angel to I am not. That's not you.
Yeah.
I'm like, and this one's like, yes, you are. But you said shake hands with Grandmother Spider. That could take a long time, because she's got eight legs. Could be here for a while.
COVID-19, no one's touching anything. Let's be real. Oh my God, I love you. Grandmother Spider has a sense of humor.
Totally, yes. I see I see a book. I see something on. I see something about the humor in that. I really do. Like every time you and I have had conversations, like there's humor there, and so I don't know what yet, but I see something. Yeah.
Cool. Can I share with you what I see for you?
Sure.
And I don't need to name the shape of, I know I can see the shape of it. I don't need to name the content of it, because it's ever evolving. But I also know that everything that we're meant to do, we're called to do in the first 5 minutes. And then the rest of the time we just spend unpacking the wisdom that was given to us right in the beginning. So I know that what I see for you is the grandmother spider woman. Like you were known as the grandmother spider woman. I see you doing book readings and readings. I see that for you because your writing is exquisite and poetic and magical. Like it's like we are actually in grandmother spider magic, like in it. What's that called? Like, oh, like we're on the web. You cast a spell. That's the word I'm looking for. We're actually in grandmother spider spell when you read. So I see you in places, on stages, doing public readings. I also see you as a nurturing teacher, different voice and a different aspect of grandmother spider. And that's the part where you are teaching the 4 principles. And it's a simpler language. It's not as poetic, but I see it. And I also see you as grandmother spider as a creatrix, which is the creator, the part of you that the artist. It's the artist of you. And I know we call it graphic facilitation, but I actually I selfishly, I think, would actually want to remove that title from you and call you the grandmother spider artist or something like that. Because I think what is, and I'm curious what Chris will say about this. I think what's waking up in you, in your permission, is the creatrix.
I believe so too. I really do. Thank you for that. There's a stirring for sure. When I do my drawings, when I'm not pressured for time and I can just do my drawings and like it nurtures my soul. It feeds my soul. Yeah. And I'm getting better at it all the time. Like I can actually, like with this one that that I did on Wednesday, well, wait till you see the one that I'm almost finished, like with Dr. Miriam's. I'm able to figure out. Yeah, I'm getting better at it, and it is feeding me, and it's not just the drawing; it's also the other part of that is Mother Earth as well. Like I really am feeling a strong, like last year when I was gardening, that was just that as well fed my soul, and it was. You know, when I saw it, I actually witnessed the 3 sisters in action. Like I grew those 3 sisters. I created that garden, right? And it was just incredible. And so I need that. And that's what I'm looking for moving forward is a place. And so like I'm thinking of you and how you needed to have this house that you're in. And yes, it was way more than you wanted to pay for rent, but you needed the house. And so I'm trying to think the same way, that I need to have a garden. And Nicole's helping me with that. Like, I'm not looking for places that don't have the garden, because I need to have that garden. Not need, but I need, you know.
Need it.
Yeah. And so yes, the creatrix for sure.
Yeah. So that's my vision for you.
Love it. It's beautiful.
I think the world will pay you as the loving teacher you are, that pulls in creatrix, right? And like pulls in those pieces of you. But and I think you'll also get paid in the other capacities. But I do see like the point, the lead, like the lead drive is why you're getting your master's, why, like all of that stuff is, you're going to facilitate all kinds of workshops and people are going to pay you for it and your living will be made there. And you're an exquisite writer that inspires people in front of them. And you are a creatrix that draws. So, and then you're in balance.
That just tickles me beyond like it. And what's really interesting is I feel like such a little kid in all of this, but I'm not. You know, that's what's funny. It's funny. It's like Grandmother Spider has a sense of humor, and it's really interesting because years and years ago, I was told that I would have my freedom and like my financial freedom and my sense of peace and belonging in the world later in life. Like, thank goodness it's not before I die. Well, I guess it could be, you know, like, but later in life, how late in life, you know, like, and I'm going to be 60 in a few years. And it's like,
Not another 40 years.
Well, actually 50 because I'm going to live to be 110. So.
Oh, well, fuck, there you go. And you have 20 really good body years, maybe 30.
Yeah.
Right? So, and who knows by then what we'll be able to do. So
exactly.
Later in life, fuck, it's just later. 60 is just later based on what we used to think is later, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you.
Okay.
So you have lots to consider. I don't want you to be doing very much right now. I want you to be rooting in and shaking 8 hands with that Grandmother Spider and nurturing those 4 principles.
Yeah.
Running everything through those principles right now.
Okay? All right. Yeah. And thank you so much. This was an amazing session. Thank you.
Wow. So much
amazing conversation. Love it. Love it. And yeah, you gave me lots to